Selamat pagi from New Zealand. Sorry it's been so long since I got the last video out, but it's been extremely busy over here in Matakana, the beautiful part of New Zealand that I live in. For those of you who don't know, I do work in hospitality, and it's been school holidays for the last 2 weeks here. And because of the coronavirus, nobody in New Zealand can travel overseas at the moment, so everybody's having their holidays within New Zealand, even though it's cold, wet, miserable, middle of winter. So apologies for the delay in getting this new video out to you.
Mr. Steve! Mr. Steve!
So Bali has a plan to reopen, starting with a relaxing of the rules back in July the 9th, opening the borders to domestic tourists from the end of July, July the 31st, and finally opening the borders to overseas tourists from the ominous date of 11th of September, or 9/11 as Americans like to call it. This plan is all well and good, except for one major problem: the growth of local transmission of the coronavirus. Those who watch my channel will remember a video I did pondering the preposition that Bali had already had the virus and now had the antibodies to fight off any new outbreak. That seemed to be the case until the end of May, when Bali only had 4 deaths and only 465 positive tests. How things have changed. As you can see from this graph, at the end of May, 31st of May, here we go, 465 confirmed cases, only 4 fatalities. But now you look at the growth of the graph through June, all through here, and now into July. And we've been getting some really serious spikes. So now, as of the date, this is 1 day old, so the fatality rate now is 30. And there are over almost 2,700 confirmed cases. So we've all heard in the news, in New Zealand and all over the world, about getting the flattening the curve. That was one of the little famous sayings from the World Health Organization and various governments around the world. Flatten the curve. Well, and looking at this, going right back here to April, you can see this curve growing steadily there and is now shooting up. Now they reckon it's not entirely due to the relaxing of the rules on July the 9th. There have been a lot of clusters, market clusters, and they can distort the figures a little bit because you get in one particular area or 3 particular areas where the growth seems to be a little bit more exponential. The problem, I believe, arose out of the Balinese returning home and being asked to self-quarantine back in their villages, and it's pretty obvious that some didn't do that, and we've seen quite steady growth in certain districts, like around Denpasar especially, and more recently around these markets. So it doesn't matter what the governor of Bali says in terms of opening the borders. No one's going to be allowed to fly there if the community spread continues to grow like this and the deaths continue to rise. There's one major problem here, and that is travel insurance. There is absolutely no way an insurance company is going to cover you travel insurance-wise for a trip to Bali. So I'm not holding out a lot of hope for this September date unless things can really change. So that's it for Bali news this week. Sorry it's taken me so long to get a new video made. I'll try and get another one up by next week. So not good news, I don't think, for getting over to Bali this year, but I'll always keep my fingers crossed. And I'll leave you now with my favourite disinfectant truck, the Armageddon truck, flying through the villages of Bali. Until next time, this is Mr. Steve. See you next week.